He could still balk, though. He could still balk.
He could, but he probably needed to balk first. This is a wild conversation we're having right now. I'm well aware of that. So you're welcome to everybody who is
He's
interested.
maybe too famous to balk, but he could still balk.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Off to Broadway, the podcast where we deep dive into anything and everything musical theater. I'm Tara.
I'm Stefania.
And in today's episode, it's time for the Toronto and surrounding areas 2024-2025 season preview. We are currently in the season preview. As we record, as this episode is released, we have made it to the new season. And I feel like it started off like pretty strong here in Toronto. So do you want to take it away with our very first show of the 2024-2025 season?
Most of the shows that we're going to talk about today are musicals, but to start off the Mirvish season, we saw the play Life of Pi, which came here from the UK.
Yep. That was our first show for this season. Is it the only play this season?
It sort of looks like it, honestly.
I know there's
in the season, in the main season.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a couple off Mirvish. I think Thanksgiving play is here, and
15 Dogs.
15 Dogs. But this is the only play in the Mirvish main season, and I feel like it was pretty like anticipated for the season. But we've seen that. That's running until October 6th. But the first musical of the season is actually coming next week, I think.
For us, next week, it's Come From Away.
It is. Actually, I should say, as we're recording this, it's September 16th. I don't think as many things will change for the Toronto and surrounding areas season preview as they will for the New York one, but we're going to date stamp just in case. So Come From Away is back in Toronto. Is there an out date? I don't have the out date on me.
The current out date is March 2nd. Natasha Pierre and the Great Comet does need to come in to the Royal Alex, so it's not open-ended. We need that theater. But I can see it extending a little bit past. Natasha Pierre, I think, is in the summer, so
right.
Come From Away, I can see maybe April, May, similar to what the Run 6 had last year, and then making room for Great Comet in the summer.
So this is actually featuring not all, but most of the cast that we saw the last time that Come From Away was here, which was the show that was like the first show that we saw post-pandemic. Or not even post-pandemic. It was during the pandemic when we saw Come From Away.
First
brought
time
us
we were
back into the theaters.
In a theater. What was it, 2021? Or was it 2022?
I think it was 2021.
That's crazy.
Which feels crazy, but yeah.
What were we doing?
But it just finished a run in Ottawa. If anybody remembers, this was pre-COVID, but like Come From Away was supposed to have, was it an open-ended run at the Winter Garden?
So what had happened was it was a long-running show here in Toronto at the Royal Alex Theatre. Then they decided to bring Dear Evan Hansen to Toronto. Right. So what they did was, instead of closing Come From Away, they moved Come From Away to the Winter Garden and put Dear Evan Hansen in the Royal Alex. Then Dear Evan Hansen low-key flopped, so they brought Come From Away back to the Royal Alex. But then the pandemic happened and it all closed.
Yeah. And now we're here.
So it was on an open-ended run before the pandemic, like before March 2020, and then it closed because of that, and then they brought it back December, I think, 2021, and then 2 weeks later, it was Omicron, it was a dark time, closed again. And now it's finally coming back, it seems, for this kind of a bit more limited run, a return to Toronto. I'm excited. This is such a wonderful show, such a feel-good show, a perfect show for Canada. Like, Canada has such a connection to this show for obvious reasons. So yeah, really excited to have this one back in Toronto. It's one I can always recommend to whoever is asking, if you want to see something in Toronto, have you seen Come From Away? If you haven't seen Come From Away, start there.
It's also not a tour, unlike most of the shows in the season, so it is featuring like a primarily Canadian cast, which is also always exciting for the city.
It's a sit down. It's like a permanent set. It's good stuff. It's exciting stuff here.
Okay, speaking of tours, what's next?
It's Miss Mamma Mia. It's Mamma Mia. October 8th, November 10th. I've never seen Mamma Mia live.
Well, this one is like decent. It's not like controversial, but like controversial because there's another show that's coming in the new year, which is called...
Right. So it's called Just for One Day, the Live Aid musical. So when the season was initially announced, Mamma Mia, the musical, was announced as part of the Mirvish subscription season. And then with a mystery 7th show to come. Then they said, mystery 7th show is great, Comet. We're like, great, amazing. Then they're like, actually, we've got another show, and now it's part of the subscription, and Mamma Mia is out. And
you could like, you could opt in for it, but you can't have both. You have one or the other.
One or the other.
Now, for some people,
pick, like, 7 of 8.
Now, for some people, like my parents, they chose Mamma Mia because... But, like, reliable, right? Whereas, like, I don't know what this new musical is. They're also, like, not us, right? They've never seen... Well, my mom saw Mamma Mia, but my dad's never seen it.
I think your parents might like the Live Aid musical. Like, I really think... My dad is someone who loves a music documentary. My dad will watch a music documentary, especially this specific era. He's always giving me music trivia of who was there, when, who recorded what, who knew each other... You know, who played in this band, who played drums on this song. So I actually feel like this is such a dad show, Just for One Day, the Live Aid musical. Maybe that's just my bias because of my personal dad, but this show gives father.
I don't disagree. I just don't think it's reliable. And based on the reviews from the West End, it's not good. So...
Well, we will see for ourselves.
We will. But to talk about Mamma Mia... I've seen it on stage. You've never seen it on stage. We've obviously done an episode dedicated to the movies.
The films, yeah.
And the third one is in the works, right? I believe it's in the works.
We hope.
Yeah. But the last time I saw Mamma Mia on stage, I was not a big fan. I do think this kind of like lends itself to the same category as how I feel about Chicago, is that the movie is better. But it is a fun time. The Mega Mix is always a good time. People are always dancing at the end. It's just like, it's fine. I think it's just a random... Oh, wait, it's the 25th anniversary, is it not? That's why it's here, I'm pretty sure.
I think so.
Yeah.
That sounds right.
Because I was trying to figure out, like, why... When we play the game of what's going to be at the... in the Mirvish season, Mamma Mia was never a show that came to mind. But... Here we are.
Here's the thing. I think it must sell really well.
I'm sure.
I think it's got to sell really well. Again, it's a crowd pleaser. It's reliable. Is it amazing? No, but it gets people in seats. It gets butts in seats. We're always thinking about who is the, average Mirvish subscriber. And who are they catering this list of shows to? And just to note, like, Come From Away is not part of the subscription season. So that's just a separate show. Because it's already been part of subscription season before.
Twice? Once? Yeah.
I actually think only once.
I think I agree with you. That very first time. Yeah.
When it was the out of town before Broadway. So I do think they are thinking about what is the average theater goer a fan of and what are they going to want to see. And I do think Mamma Mia is classic for that. I think, David Mirvish is thinking about what he's going to like because, he is that demo. And now as we see, a lot of this stuff is signed by him and his daughter Hannah, who it seems to be starting to take over for who is picking the shows. So, yeah, I do think this is a good fit for the audience that is coming to these shows. Is it super exciting to me? No.
It is the 25th anniversary confirmed, so that's another reason I think to bring it. I will say... When you hear this full list, I've seen almost all of these already. So I just, as you were just saying, like, I'm not the demo for the subscriber audience, but I do think that in the last, like, few years, they have been trying to scale younger. So some of these choices, like, do make sense to me. And then some of them, I'm like, oh, you're here for the target audience.
A lot of this stuff is pretty fresh.
It is. And we were actually quite surprised at how quick, speaking of, like, Life of Pi, that coming so quick after, like, having its Broadway run, having its West End run. That was a really fast transfer.
Tour has not even started for Life of Pi yet.
Exactly. So,
so we are really getting it so early.
very quick for that. When we get to it, there's another show that's a very quick turnaround for that. So it is interesting what they're trying to do here. So yeah, I guess it is a combination of like getting that younger audience in seats, but also like keeping your subscribers in check of like the shows that you think that they will like. And obviously Mamma Mia lends itself to one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah. The next show?
The next show is kind of the centerpiece of the Mirvish season this year. Excitingly, it is a Canadian production with a Canadian cast. The cast has been announced, and we're hoping to kind of, do an episode on it, hoping to talk to some members of the cast here. So we'll see what ends up happening with that. But that is a Canadian sit-down production of The Lion King at the Princess of Wales Theatre.
So currently, the tickets are on sale until April 25th, but I did go to that, like, preview. There was, like, a weird thing last year that was like, we're not going to tell you what this is, but you're invited to this, like, special presentation. So it was like, okay. Never in my wildest dreams did I think that it was going to be an announcement of a sit-down production of The Lion King, because I know I was there, you weren't there, and, like, we were trying to figure out what this was. Never did I think it was going to be... Wow, you know what? Gotta pull out...
Where's our hat?
But the beanies.
The beanie.
We'll pull those out for November. I think it's exciting to have The Lion King back in the city, for sure. During that presentation, they were talking about, like, how exciting it was and how many people were, like, brought to the theater when it was here for, like... Maybe it was here 10 years ago. It was here for a while. I saw it here when it was on its most recent U.S. tour. But that's the only time I've ever seen The Lion King. As we know, it's super popular still in New York. Like, those tickets are being sold at full price all the time. So this is a show that people constantly go to see. They constantly return to. And yes, I do think that the entire Mirvish season was built around this production of The Lion King.
Okay. It ran for Toronto from the year 2000 to 2003. So that was the sit-down that we had. Not 10 years. So almost 20 years, over 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And what I will say is I was dancing at the time, and multiple people at my dance studio, like the kids, were in The Lion King. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fun.
One of them played Simba.
The other thing, too, I will say it isn't 100% Canadian. The cast is a combination of African performers plus Canadians. That is the apparently like Disney mandate, is that it has to have like a certain percentage of like African performers for, I think, like authenticity, to be honest, for this production. So
honestly,
that's
good.
That's worldwide. That's how The Lion King runs worldwide.
You can't capitalize on a culture, on an aesthetic, on a sound, and then not, include the members of that community 100%. In that show.
Yeah.
Or in the profits of that. So
yeah.
Good.
Do we want to talk a little bit about the controversy of multiple productions of The Lion King running at the same time?
I will talk about it. So a lot of times when you have a sit-down production that is, let's say, not New York City, you will kind of, schedule other tours and other nearby productions so that they're not competing with this sit-down production that a lot of money has been invested into. And the national tour of The Lion King is still going. And I want to pull it up, because Toronto has... Toronto is a fairly big market, but it does rely mostly on local theater goers. But I do think that this, production is relying on people coming and traveling to see this show to be able to extend the length of the run. And I'm kind of surprised at how they've allowed nearby cities to have the tour stop of The Lion King while this run is happening in Toronto. So I'm going to point out that that the Lion King tour is stopping in Ottawa, Ontario, October 4th to November 10th. So really competing with like the opening weeks of the production in Toronto. And then from December 18th to January 5th, the Christmas period, it will be in Buffalo, New York, which is even closer than Ottawa. Literally just an hour away for us. Mm-hmm. We've also got, Syracuse, New York. We've got Kalamazoo, Michigan. These are fairly close-ish cities that will be overlapping with the Toronto run. So I'm really just interested in why Disney Theatrical or even Mirvish in their contract negotiations would allow this to happen, because I do feel it's going to impact the potential audience. Why would I road trip from Ottawa if it was just in my city? Why would I come from Buffalo if it was just in my city, if I can see it close to home instead?
Yeah. No, it is interesting. We were talking about this yesterday, of the fact that it will impact that first chunk of tickets, because you're under the impression that a lot of people will be gifted tickets to The Lion King for Christmas, which will help the slow period of like January, February, March, when people are not like just going out and buying tickets for these shows. But to impact that Christmas, it is really strange. Like, if I lived in Buffalo and it's over the like holiday season and I have a few days off and I know that The Lion King is playing in Toronto, like, I'll make the road trip, but now I don't have to because it's in my own backyard.
It's right here.
Like, it's very strange to do something like that. That being said, I am interested in the Mirvish like sit down production style. We just saw this with 6. It extended many times. I think ultimately it was on for a year.
It was about 9 months, 8-9 months.
That's it, really. It's all
September,
longer than that.
end of September, maybe even less, till end of May. So let's say full October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May. That's 8 months. Let's say like 8 months. I would say 8 months.
Yeah. So that's like the longest since come from away that we've seen in recent years. I mean, Cursed Child, I guess, was longer a little bit than that.
Cursed Child was about like 13 months.
But we were just discussing
like May to July.
A couple days ago of like, does the sit down production work here? It's yet. Do
we have enough people to see this? And do we have, because let's in New York City, the audience is constantly regenerating with tourists. Toronto is not a tourism city in the way other cities are. So you have to really appeal to people who live in the city and people who make this their home. And a lot of times on vacation, you think about spending money on experiences differently than you do when you're at home. And I really think that the marketing strategy, or the strategy of having like a really long production, doesn't quite suit Toronto as well as a more tourist city.
It also comes down to like rewatchability and then like price of tickets. I would say that like rewatchability is like, people could return to The Lion King a couple times, but like not for the premium prices that are being offered. Which is why, as I said like a bit earlier, like it's still such like an elitist production in New York. People are still paying like $300 to see the show. So it's
no
just
discount tickets in New York.
No. We don't know at this time if there will be Rush for this. I'm assuming there will be. Mirvish does offer Rush. It is quite higher than what New York Rush prices are these days. So I don't know. It will be interesting to see, as I said, like post like February, March, what happens. They're on sale right now to the end of April with the hopes to extend, but I'm curious to see what happens in those like kind of quieter months in the winter. So
I will say, though I don't think it has an infinitely regenerating audience, I do think this is a show that a lot of families want to bring children to as their first theatrical experience.
Yes.
And a show like 6, let's say, doesn't have that, or a show like Dear Evan Hansen didn't have that, because it has a much more niche audience. Whereas this, families who don't go to the theater very often at all are going to buy tickets to this show, are going to make the trip, are going to spend money to see this show and to give their children, give families that experience, because it has that name recognition, because it is familiar to their children potentially, because they know for the most part it's fairly kid friendly, give or take, but it is geared towards children. I do think it's a slightly better selection than something like Dear Evan Hansen or 6 in order to appeal to that family audience and to get theater goers into the theater who are seeing no other shows.
Yeah. Although, there is another family show this season that's at the end of the season. So, actually, there's 2 potentials. So, it is kind of interesting to do that. But let's move on to our next show of the season, which is a show that you and I both have seen many times and we love. and that's Moulin Rouge. Before we talk about that, I do want to say that this season, as opposed to other seasons, because of The Lion King, because of Come From Away, majority of the shows are at the CAA Ed Mirvish Theater, which is the largest theater that we have here. And I like that theater. I don't love that theater. So I think it's interesting to have like almost every single show be there.
We were just there the other day. Hate the location, gotta be honest.
Yeah.
As someone who went to university in that basically exact location, not a fan of the location. I much prefer the King Street theaters and just that area than I do the Dundas Square, like Yonge and Dundas area. So that's that. I guess I don't really have much more to say about that. The CAA in Mirvish is significantly larger than the other two theaters and recently underwent a huge renovation in order to house Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, another, long-running Canadian production of a show. Did you hear, actually, they're starting the tour in Chicago, and it's even shorter. It's $250.
You know what? Chop it down.
$330.
Keep cutting.
They're like, this is the one. This is the final one. They're like, this is the best one yet. And I was like, the first time I saw it was 7 hours. And now we're at $250? What are we cutting?
Wow.
We're just talking really fast now. 2 times speed.
They already were talking so fast.
No, I know, they were
$330.
Okay, crazy. Now it's $250 for the touring production. And they said all future productions will be modeled on this production. I'm like, that is so interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so it went through a renovation for the CA for Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. I did think that theater did need a renovation. But I love that center aisle, which we're talking about.
I was gonna say the center aisle like really affects, I think, certain like sight lines. It also traps people in their row if they need to like leave quickly. It's very interesting.
If people need to enter mid-show, now instead of walking through the sides, they're walking through the center of the theater to get to a seat.
And
the people
they're
next
also
to us at Life of Pi, though they came on the side, 45 minutes in.
But they had to cross at least 10 people to get to that row. Anyway, what I do think it's good for is a show like Moulin Rouge that has such a large set. There's a lot of shows that have big sets, which obviously fit better to the biggest theater. I'm very curious on this. Again, I love this show, but I know not everyone loves this show. I also want to publicly say on this podcast, for anybody that's never listened to us before, this is not a direct comparison or production of the movie. It is different. It is a jukebox musical. If you walk into this not knowing it's a jukebox musical, you're going to be surprised. So
the movie is also a jukebox musical,
but not in the same way. It's not using mainstream music.
No, it is. It was just 20 years ago. Like a Virgin,
I guess, movie. But I don't see it in that way because I would never use the song Royals in another show. You know what I mean?
I just think obviously when that movie came out it was 2003, so it was picking from a different pool of songs than the musical that came out in 2018.
Yeah, that's fair.
The pool it was picking was for different, and just our relationship with those songs is different. It is not, a lot of the songs from the movie are there, a lot of them aren't there as well, and there's a bunch of new ones added. I do think it captured tonally the movie quite well, personally.
That's a hot take because so many people do not.
I do. I agree. It captured the essence. I think it captured the essence of the movie.
But I also think that we as a podcast are in the minority on Moulin Rouge as a whole. A lot of people do not like this show. So
I know people don't like it. The West End really does not like it.
Hated it. The West End
does not like it.
Yeah.
It is interesting. And also what I'll say about the tour, we've been lucky enough, we saw it in the out of town in Boston, we've seen it on Broadway. This tour does not bring that elephant, does not bring the windmill.
I do think this will cause the same issue as I have with Beautiful, with Summer, with Tina. Guys, do not sing in the audience for this show, please. Thank you so much. I think a lot of people, when Moulin Rouge first came on Broadway, were like, oh my god, I know that song, I have to sing along. Don't do it. Don't do it. For everyone around you.
I'm excited for Toronto audiences to see this. Yeah. I can't wait.
Another one that I think a lot of people have bought advance tickets for because of name recognition. So
for sure. People love that movie. People love Baz.
Fairly quick to get here, I'll say. I know it's been a few years, but decently fast.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, the next show is an off-Mervis show, and I feel like this is maybe our most anticipated show of the season.
This is, I agree, my most anticipated show of the season. It's one we haven't seen before, and it's one we've potentially tried to get to in New York, but it is a hot ticket. And I just think, when the rumor went around about this one, I was shook. But even before they announced it, when we'd seen a casting notice, when the rumor was
We had some
buzzing,
insider info on this.
We had some insider info. We're like, I can't believe this is happening.
Yeah.
But this is part of the off-Mervis season, Titanic. And
as of today, like, casting announced.
Cast it out. I know. A brief summary of Titanic. It is as the story of the movie Titanic if Celine Dion herself was on board the Titanic. That is why it's pronounced Titanic, because it is like Selena saying it, and it is told through the music. This is a jukebox musical. It is told through the music of Celine Dion. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say about that. It is told through the music of Celine. It's playing in Montreal before it comes to Toronto.
At the Siegel Center.
Yes.
That's where that run is happening. That was announced first. That's where we saw that, like, casting notice. And then if you scrolled way down to the bottom, it said running in Toronto.
And we're like, oh.
Obviously, off-Mervis is the correct place for this. I just don't think that the regular subscriber crowd would understand it and love it.
Gotta opt in. This is at the CAA Theater, which is a fun little house. Hate that location also, but can't even talk about that.
Yeah, like, some of our theater locations are just, like, not the best, but it's really hard, especially with, like, how the city has developed, like, since these theaters were built, obviously.
Well, the CAA is fairly new, to be fair.
I know, but I don't think that area was as bad as it is when it was built. It's hard to say because if you go like one street over, it's like so high end.
No, it's so fancy.
Very weird. It's
no,
very
I know.
Weird.
I know. Yeah. I always think about when they bring casts in and they put them up probably in Yorkville or wherever, and they're staying in a nice area and they have to walk to the CAA. I was like, what is Billy Boyd thinking when he's walking to the CAA?
I know.
What are they thinking?
I know. But yes. Wait, who is this starring? We have a name.
Veronique Claveau as Celine Dion. She is authentique real-life Quebec star. And I believe... I tried to follow her on Instagram, but I think she was private. But I believe she is a Quebecois singer. So I think that's like a really fun casting. Everything's in French, guys. I don't know what to tell you.
This is also like, again...
Authentique.
It's still running off Broadway. It has a production in London.
The West End was just announced, I think.
Yes. I also think they're having a production in Australia. So, like, this is, again, another, like, fairly new
This is a fun get for Toronto.
For us. So, literally most anticipated, like, to the point that we could potentially see Titanic when we're in New York. And, like, I don't think we're going to because this is coming so soon. So,
yeah. No, I know.
Very exciting.
We're really pumped for this one. Hoping to, like, do some really fun coverage of that on the podcast as well.
Yeah. And then the next musical is the one that we spoke of earlier, which is Just for One Day, the Live Aid musical. This is a West End transfer. As I said, it got pretty bad reviews in the West End.
Should we do some headlines?
Luke Shepherd is bringing this, who we loved for Anne Juliet, but yeah. I don't know. Okay. I'm like really not inspired by this. I really feel like it's going to give In Dreams.
Okay. Here's the headline from Variety. Just for One Day review, Live Aid musical shines in songs. The boisterously played but problematic musical about Live Aid Band-Aid has tremendous musical performances. Shame about the book. Oh, God. Okay, that was from Variety. This is from The Guardian. Oh, no, this is so funny. From The Guardian. Just for One Day review, Live Aid musical has soaring voices and pancake flat characters. Oh, no. Jukebox show celebrating Sweary Bob Geldof's 1985 mega fundraiser Powell's homily on cliché in a production in thrall to white savior stereotypes. Not this. Oh, I'm peeing. Let's find one more. This is from The New Statesman. I'm really just finding random things. Here we go. Live Aid musical Just for One Day, sanctimony and second-rate songs. Okay. Well,
so it's not giving great reviews, but what this is giving is David Mirvish has a relationship with the UK, and that's why we're getting this musical.
Specifically, with the Old Vic in London specifically. Did he used to own the Old Vic?
Yes, he doesn't anymore.
But yeah, I think he still has that relationship there.
Yeah. We always get one random UK show, and this is it.
Yeah, and you know what? It's fun that it's a musical this time. At least it's not Pressure. That's what I'll say about that.
We really hit on Pressure every year, and what if it was good?
I know. What if it was good? It was about the weather.
I know it was about the weather. I actually think my parents enjoyed it.
I'm sure they did. I'm going to hate on Pressure forever. What was the other one that season? Is The Shark is Broken? That one was...
The Shark is Broken. No, but Fisherman's Friends was also from the UK.
Yeah, Fisherman's Friends I can't talk about.
But yeah, there's always a UK import, and this is the one this season. I will say we're not getting it, but maybe something to look forward to in the future. David Mirvish is a producer on the roller skate version of Starlight Express that's currently in the UK. So let's bring that. I'm ready for it.
I just
arena tour.
Yeah, I just don't know if we have the right space for that here in Toronto, unfortunately.
No, but like bring it to the Scotiabank. Like, let's go. I'm ready.
Imagine.
Also, I should say, we are just going through the Mirvish season right now. We will go to the next ones as we finish this. So the next Mirvish show is Beetlejuice. I'm excited about this, and this is another show that I said that I think is for the families. Do you remember when we were in New York in the elevator?
Yes.
The kid?
Yeah. There was a family with a little boy. He was probably maybe 10. And he said, I think that was better than Hamilton. And we didn't know what show he was talking about. Like, what show did you guys see? Yeah. And they seen Beetlejuice.
I saw this on Broadway. I thought it was like really fun. As we know, there was like so much controversy in the pandemic about the Music Man and Beetlejuice, but they had like really good marketing strategy towards the end. They were like doing fun performances on TV. I think it's a great show for the family. It also perfectly times with the like re-release of or the new movie Beetlejuice, and obviously like Beetlejuice is in the headlines. It unfortunately should be earlier in the season because that would actually be perfect timing, but obviously just based on like tour availability. Fun set. I've heard that the tour is like just as good as what it was on Broadway, so I'm excited to see it again. And you've never seen it.
I have never seen Beetlejuice. I've never even seen the movie, so I really am fully going in truly blind here, but I'm excited. I'm excited to see this. I think the stagecraft is really fun. Is this Alex Timbers as well? Mm-hmm. Yeah, love him. So we've got a multiple Alex Timbers season with Moulin Rouge and Beetlejuice. So I'm excited. I'm happy. I think it's a good, fun one, and it's also again continues the pattern of bringing fresh stuff to Toronto. A lot of times we feel like what the Mirvish season is bringing is a little bit stale, or we get the final stop on a tour. We're the last city to ever see these tours. Yeah. But I don't feel that way with this current season. I'm very happy with what they're delivering to Toronto as something that is, in my opinion, should be like a first-class theater city. And
that statement rings true for the next show in the Mirvish season. I know you are not excited to see it, but I will say this is so soon. This is after Broadway and after the West End. It's Back to the Future. It will always be too soon. Another family show.
For sure.
This is a show to bring kids to for sure. After seeing it, I think we can both agree that this is definitely PG, family friendly.
A family show.
I'm just interested in how the DeLorean's going to work here.
No, I know, because the tour hasn't started, I don't believe, so we really have no information on how this works. Is it touring the UK?
I don't know about the UK, but I know US for sure. I feel like we
I know, but is it currently touring the UK?
Let me look. Back to the Future.
I'm just like wondering how they do the DeLorean. I think on Broadway, not to like spoil the magic, it's like an arm, obviously, that goes out over the audience.
It's very good though.
This car. No, it looks great. For my full thoughts, honestly, here's the thing. I obviously was not a fan of this show, and yet I would still recommend it to many people because I do think it's the right show for many people and for many theater goers. So I'm excited that it's coming so early. Will I be going again?
Yes.
Not if I can help it.
It isn't touring the UK because it's still on the West End. So that's the answer to that question.
I know, but sometimes they still
I don't think so. I can't find anything about a tour. I just see like, would you like to book tickets for the West End performance of Back to the Future? Another show that hit in the West End. So I will maybe consider this a secondary UK import for the Mirvish family.
Yeah.
I just think that like bringing the DeLorean to Toronto will also offer a lot of like press opportunities, which I think is like pretty exciting. It's a movie that everyone and their parents love. So I think it's a really good get for this,
I agree. It's a
this
good
season. All of these are pretty good gets. Like, I think if you haven't seen most of these, which I don't think a lot of people have because you would have to do regular trips to New York like I have to see these shows, it's a pretty stacked commercial season, but I think that's okay. I think that's okay. But to go on the complete flip side of something that's absolutely not commercial and shocking that it was the 7th show added to the main Mirvish season, we're thrilled that it was.
This lit us up. This was thrilling.
It is the Crows transfer of Natasha Pierre and the Great Comet of 1812. I cannot wait to see this on a big stage. I actually have chills thinking about this show again. We don't know if it's going to be the same cast, but please, if anyone is listening to us, bring that full Crows cast over because everybody was amazing. I don't even know if we did we even talk about the fact that we rushed the last show because we were that dedicated to seeing it.
We ended up seeing it twice while it played at Crows. We saw it I think mid-January, and then we saw the final performance end of March. We did talk about the comedy of every 2 weeks being extend it again.
Yeah.
Extend it again. It was just kind of, I don't know, a funny game it seemed it was playing. But then when it announced that it was going to be the 7th show, it was final extension, will not extend again. Because again, you don't want to eat your audience. When you're going to be coming back the next year, you want to have that limited, you want to create that scarcity so that people feel the need to see it again. If everyone gets in that first run, they keep extending it. So we ended up seeing that final performance. This is really, really fun. Love this for Crows. And I'm also really excited to see, because at Crows it was fairly, the audience was surrounding the stage and you could sit really, really close. So I'm wondering what they'll do with potential on-stage seating or bringing the cast into the audience, bringing the stage into the audience a little bit. If anyone's seen pictures of the Broadway stage, I'm really, really curious to see what they'll do to create that really immersive experience and bring the audience into the show and bring the show to the audience.
I mean, we will talk about this at the end of the year, but some of these performances are the top performances that we've seen this year in theater.
I can't believe this was this year.
I know.
It was so long ago.
I know. It was, I just think to, see the, trailer that they shot, released on a Mirvish website, I was like, oh my God, we don't work for Crows, obviously, but, to think, oh my God, Crows made it, because the only other time that we've seen a Crows Mirvish collab was off Mirvish with As You Like It, so, I don't know if there's been other ones, but nothing in a main season, so this is, huge for a smaller theater company in Toronto, and again, bring that cast because I cannot wait to see these people in these roles again.
And I'm also super excited because we've been talking about this Great Comet production since 2020
forever,
because it was supposed to be, at the Winter Garden December 2020, and it was delayed and delayed and delayed until finally winter 2023 it came, and it was, I think, a bigger success than they could have ever hoped. And
so many people I know saw it multiple times, including us. It was a multi-viewing production for theater goers because it was that good. So yeah. I don't know how the subscribers will like it, but I'm happy to be back again.
I think it's really fun though. I don't know, especially that kind of big set piece in Act 2, which is my favorite part of the show. I really think no matter who you are as an audience, I think you'll love it. I think as I was watching it, I was thinking my mom would love this. My mom loves, when my mom saw The Band's Visit, this is such a random comparison. When my mom saw The Band's Visit, she was not a fan of the show, but she loved the musicians, playing the interludes between scenes. And during certain moments of Great Comet, I was kind of reminded of those moments in The Band's Visit, even styling wise and just the way the music sounds. And I was thinking, I think my mom would really like this one. So hoping maybe I'll be able to take her to this one.
They are going to have to print the family tree for the Mirvish program because
project it.
It's hard to follow sometimes. And then to round out the off Mirvish season, another super exciting show for us to finally see is Life After. If anyone remembers when we talked to Britta Johnson back in 2020, this is her show. It had a production. Was it with Musical Stage Company or Canadian Stage?
I think it was a Musical Stage, Canadian Stage. Like,
oh, co-pro. I don't know what year it was, but then
she was part of the
Crescendo
at
yes.
Musical Stage, so I think
yes.
it was a co-pro.
I think it was the first one in her series.
She was the first recipient of the Crescendo.
No, I know, but I think because
program,
it was a
and it was her
show series,
she did
right?
Life After, she did Dr. Silver, and she did Kelly
v. Kelly. Yeah. Life After then went to play at the Goodman in Chicago. I actually think they recorded that performance, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe it was streamed during the pandemic. We did not get to see it. But I like literally cannot wait to see. We love the song Poetry. Britta writes like stunning music. So I just think it's like, I don't know, it's fun to see someone who like we know but don't really know, like slowly but surely
we've like followed her career a little bit.
Yeah, to like watch her climb the ranks of.
When does this episode come out?
September 30th.
Okay, I think it's over, but
the Cabaret.
The Crows Cabaret.
But you know what you can watch of Britta Johnson's? The Last Timbit, which is streaming on Crave.
Yes.
We have not seen it yet.
No, I know.
But it is her and her sister Annika's music. So yeah, I just think it's like really exciting when someone has like slow but success.
We're big Annika fans from the CMTP, the virtual CMTP. What was it called?
The Bachelor, whatever that was
the
called.
dating one where they were like, they would watch The Bachelor on like a virtual. Oh, do you wanna die alone?
I'll never forget. Should have recorded
and
that.
And then the Bachelor's name was Jordan. I know, we really should have torrented it and still listening to it. Like still, some of those like melodies are in
the Johnson sisters know how to write a song. That's all I'll say.
So fun. So whenever I think of Annika, I think of that.
Yeah. And also like original casting of Life After featured like some past guests of the podcast. So it will be interesting to see what happens when this production hits the CAA theaters. So some really mainstream shows for Mirvish this year, but then also some like really kind of like unique projects, especially in the off Mirvish season, that we're like really excited about.
Yeah, we skipped the 2 off Mirvish plays, which are the Thanksgiving play and 15 Dogs. They look good. We're just a musical podcast. Like, that's what we're here for.
There's also, like, always look out for random things, like The Life of George Michael is playing at some point. There's, like, another show that's playing at some point. So they always kind of add these...
comedians. What, do you think 2 Pianos, 4 Hands will return?
No, but what about, like, the... Oh, my God. Is it The Illusionist? Is that what it's called? The Christmas one that always comes?
Yeah, The Illusionist.
Yeah.
You remember last year Stomp was here?
Yes, and I'm so sad about that. Never gonna see Stomp.
Not to say, but I was listening to Who Weekly, and they were like, Stomp, who are them? And they're like, 1, 2, 3, them. So they're like, Stomp, you know what you're getting with Stomp. So I was like, wow, this is crossover.
But yeah, so that's taken up the majority of the episode because there's obviously so much playing in the Mirvish season in Toronto. But to keep it within Toronto, let's move to Musical Stage Company. Steph, do you want to give us the 2 shows there?
Well, we'll start with their kind of Uncovered, which they do once a year, and it's usually interpretations of famous musicians, artists' work by Toronto or surrounding areas, like theater performers. So this season they're doing U2 and the Rolling Stones, October 22 to 25th. We previously saw the one where they did ABBA, which I really enjoyed, really liked.
So good.
So you can sometimes find a cheaper ticket, and it does kind of seem to me like it's a big fundraiser for the for Musical Stage Company.
It's also at that beautiful music hall.
Corner Hall. I can't remember. Corner Hall. I don't
it's
know why
really,
I always want to call it, like,
it's really beautiful in there. Like, you'd be surprised. It looks so small from the outside, but you'd be surprised at how large it is on the inside.
Really beautiful. Yeah, so highly recommend those. But then we've got 2 musicals that are coming in the spring, April and May. The first one is one I'm really excited about. We both had the opportunity to see this on Broadway, but thrilled that this is coming to Toronto in a Canadian production, and it is A Strange Loop. It is a co-production with Soul Pepper and with Crows, so, you know, we're getting the backing of multiple Canadian or Toronto-based theater companies here. And it looks like they've cast kind of like an open casting call for this, so really curious to see what the cast ends up being here.
Yeah, I think you had talked about this like a few months ago, maybe even a year ago, of like once licensing is available for A Strange Loop, it should be at Crows. So
I was
you're
thinking,
right.
where's Obsidian in this? Not to say, not to
No,
like,
totally agree.
where are they?
Yeah, I don't know.
Why,
It is
why are they not
interesting.
involved in this?
Yeah.
And not to say that, you know, if for those who don't know, Obsidian Theatre in Toronto is a Black-focused theatre company, and the last thing we saw them do was, I think, their co-production with musical stage of Carolina Change. And they've done many other things, stuff like Passing Strange. So, I don't know, I find it interesting that they're not involved in this production.
Especially when it's not just like one. There's three theaters.
It is a co-pro.
Three theater production companies involved here. Yeah, I'm not sure. But is this playing at Crows or is it playing at Soul Pepper?
I think it's playing at Soul Pepper.
I agree. Yeah, I'm super curious to see who's cast in this because, as you said, it's public. It's on the internet. You can see it for yourself. There is a casting call out there.
They've posted like
with
on Instagram.
The salary attached. So
you know what? We love to see it. Up front.
We love transparency. So that, yeah, agree. Super exciting. And then what's the next show?
The next show is called After the Rain, and it is a co-production with Tarragon Theatre. It's running from May 27th to June 22nd, and let me read a little summary for you. Her parents are famous, her boyfriend is stupid, and Susie is a mess. When she accepts a mature piano student obsessed with mastering only one song, Eric Satie's Gymnopédie No. 1, struggling songwriter Susie's life takes an unforeseen turn. Full of family turmoil, life's complexities, and centered around a devastating discovery, After the Rain is a musical based on a true story about the healing power of music. And it looks...
This is my friend's friend who wrote this musical, Susie Wilde.
Oh, really? Susie Wilde?
Yes.
Oh my God, that's so fun. Book and lyrics, Rose Napoli. Music and lyrics, Susie Wilde. Director, Marie Farsi. So look at this female creative team.
Is this, like, autobiographical? Because it says Susie is a mess, but Susie is spelled differently.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, I don't really know.
I don't know either.
We have to find this out.
I want to say Susie Wilde also, I believe, worked on, not this year, but last year when we went to go see, oh my God, what was it called? It was the 3, like, musicals.
Oh, yes.
I think it was one of the, it was, I don't know what that version was called, but it was musical stage companies like,
Retold?
It might have been Retold, yeah. They introduced
Retold.
a few musicals that are each like 30 minutes. I think it was her, but I actually could be
Yeah,
wrong.
I'm on her website.
Was it the Ghost one?
It doesn't say. No, the Ghost one I think was Britta.
Oh.
I don't know anymore.
It was last year. We didn't go this year because we
It was last year. Who wrote the best one at Retold was the one with like the ex-husband.
Yeah,
that
like,
the ex-wife, sorry. That one was like the most fun to me.
That one was good.
Yes, her writing partner, Rose Napoli. I feel like we've seen Rose Napoli in Shakespeare in the Park. I feel like she was in one of those.
Maybe.
So, yeah, I'm reading her bio, a semi-autobiographical piece about her experiences as the child of gigging musicians and working as a music teacher in Toronto. The project is currently in development. So fun.
She's also, I believe, if anyone is familiar with the Spice Girls tribute band Wannabe, I'm pretty sure she's in it.
Yes, it does say that. When she's not doing all the other stuff, Wild travels the world as Posh Spice with Wannabe, a Spice Girls tribute. I've never seen them. But wow, love that for her. That sounds amazing. Love to be posh.
Okay, so this is fun. We should see this show.
Yes, that's why it's in here.
Like rediscovering like things as they go on. I know, but sometimes you just put things in here for the sake of what's opening in the city.
To be honest, all the musicals that I've put in here, maybe a couple I don't care that much about, but for the most part, everything that I've said so far, we're 100% seeing, and maybe like the next 4 or 5, we're also 100% seeing.
Yeah. Okay.
Then we're gonna start to get into some other stuff.
To holiday programming.
Wow.
In like a weird turn of events, last year, the year before, they were like, the Panto is gone. And we were like, oh my God.
Ross Petty's Pantos are gone. Ross Petty is done.
Yes, but also like, we never saw one, so.
Because they were so expensive.
Sucks. But now we're back with another Panto, and this time it's The Wizard of Oz, a holiday musical at Canadian Stage. This is going to be at the Elgin Winter Garden Theater. I was really hoping for like a return of Christmases, but like maybe I'll hold out for that one, you know?
I don't know if Christmas is going to return to a venue that large anytime soon.
No, but like bring it smaller. I'll see it again.
I agree. My hope for Christmas is licensing. I really think it would be so successful as a licensed show for local theaters to be doing as their holiday programming, something different, something so it's not a Christmas story again and again. Not to be like talking about Christmases here, but that's just how I feel. This is going to be directed by Ted Dykstra, back to the Wizard of Oz. I believe it's going to be...
Who directed Dion?
Dion. I know. Our cast, let's list them. Dan Shamroy, we're fans. Dan, we tried to get you on the podcast. Let's make it happen. One day.
For the Panto.
For the Panto. Jordan Bell, Andrew Broderick, Jonathan Collins, Sapphire Dimitro, Eddie Glenn, Sierra Holder, Julia Pulo. Oh, right, she's Dorothy, right?
Yeah.
Kristen Russell, Vanessa Sears. Oh my God. Our favorite people. 2 past guests of the podcast here, and a future guest of the podcast.
Maybe.
Dan, I'm putting it out there.
I think this is fun. It's another way to get families in theater. You know, you're coming to Toronto for Christmas time. You're going to go see The Lion King. You're going to go see The Wizard of Oz, a holiday musical panto. Like, it's fun stuff.
Actually, I got another credit for you. Executive producer emeritus, Ross Petty. So basically that just means you're not really
involved. I knew he was involved.
Like, what they mean by emeritus is like, this is an honor producing credit. You're not actually doing anything.
I just want to say that for everybody that said the panto was gone from Toronto, it was a lie. It's back.
But like Ross Petty is not going to be in it anymore.
It doesn't matter. His name is still in the cloud. But
that's what he means. Emeritus is a title of honor. He's not doing anything.
I know, but
it's a respect thing.
It's in spirit.
He's no longer performing in them anymore.
Yeah.
But the Toronto holiday tradition of the panto lives on.
Yes, exactly. Okay, we're going to skip all the way here to Stratford. Also, I'm so aware that there are a million other small production companies in Toronto.
I know. Please tell us in the comments what else you're excited about seeing for this upcoming
before we move to Stratford, like, we know Drayton always has a season there in the, like, Guelph, St. Jacobs area.
Grand Bend.
The Grand, we will be returning to London for Waitress, I believe.
I have 2 shows from the Grand here. They're doing Into the Woods in November. They do plays and stuff. They do other things. Into the Woods in November, but the interesting thing about Into the Woods is that it's all senior citizens.
Oh my God, we should go.
Isn't that aren't you obsessed with that? I loved it.
Not the thumbs down. I didn't mean to do the thumbs down. That's a thumbs up. There we go.
It never works when you want it to work. It never works for me. And Waitress, this is where the visual bit that I prepared.
Oh my God. Is it the flow chart of the Evan Ogie? Oh my God. Robert Marcus,
yes.
If you're not listening to us, because you definitely don't listen to every other episode, now is the time to tune in. Please present your screen, Steph.
Okay, it's going to take me like 5 seconds to like figure how this is going to go.
Wow, the text boxes.
Look, I really had to make this quickly. And this is, the beginnings of this Venn diagram. I made this in PowerPoint. It's not cute. We'll keep working on this. But basically, this is a hypothesis that I've had for years.
We've talked about it before.
We have talked about it, but I had to bring the visuals for us today because a new person has been added to the Venn diagram. So we're starting with, this is the Ogie Bach Evan Hansen Venn diagram. So we have to start, sorry, I need to hide this because we need to see Evan Hansen here. We have to start with Bach because
he's first. Well, also Bach is the veteran.
The original. Bach is the original, and 2 people have played both Bach and Ogie. There might be more, but here are the 2 that I was able to find. Christopher Fitzgerald originated both Bach and Ogie on Broadway. Alex Wise also played Bach and Ogie on Broadway. This is not just limited to Broadway, but
for the sake of this chat, yeah, here we are.
For the sake of this. Then we have the Bach-Evan Hansen overlap. Taylor Trench, who did those both, I believe, on Broadway, and Noah Pizer, who did Evan Hansen here in Toronto. And I don't know where he played Bach, gotta be honest. And then finally, the Ogie Evan Hansen overlap, which is what we're updating here today. Noah Galvin played Evan Hansen on Broadway and just got married, congratulations. and also played Ogie in Waitress on Broadway. And now we must announce Robert Marcus, Toronto's Evan Hansen himself, is playing Ogie in the Grand Theatre London production of Waitress.
Again, Steph, because Robert is definitely listening to this episode, can you
100%.
tell him your thoughts on Ogie?
I hate Ogie. He's my least favorite person ever. But
you
Robert,
will be returning for Robert.
I will. Do I think Waitress is a bloated show where Ogie should be cut? Yes. Do I think Robert is going to redeem Ogie and make him the greatest character ever? Also, yes. Can't wait.
And we'd love to have you on for a second episode to discuss this Venn diagram even further. Wow, congratulations. That was really great. Thank you so much for this visual.
Thank you. So hope to future add to this. And I also was thinking if I had some more time to prepare the visual, I would maybe add like people who've only played Bach who we think could play Evan or could play Ogie. Or people who've only played Ogie.
We're going to do just one right now, but he will be playing Bach in the Wicked movie. Obviously, Ethan Slater. He could definitely play Ogie. But I don't think he could play Evan.
No, I agree. He's a little old for Evan.
Someone else to sort of play off of that, we really thought that we'd be getting Nepo baby Ben Platt as Bach in the Wicked movie, who obviously, famously, an Evan Hansen. So also can do both.
Here's someone I'm going to add to this. This is for True Broadway Insiders. The Bach I saw when I saw Wicked on Broadway, I saw Itai Benson as Bach.
Oh.
And I think he could be Ogie.
Yes, he can, but he can't be Evan.
He's really a bit too old to be Evan. Evan is the hardest one.
What we're searching for here is someone who can do the trifecta. So if you can find us that person, I actually think Nova Galvin is like maybe the person, but not right now.
I agree.
He's aged out.
He could still Bach though. He could still Bach.
He could, but he probably needed to Bach first. This is a wild conversation we're having right now. I'm well aware of that. So you're welcome to everybody who is interested.
Maybe too famous to Bach, but he could still Bach. Noah, you need to Bach first. Okay, can't wait for this to be clipped to go on TikTok.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Okay, thank you so much for that presentation. And Robert, we will be seeing you in Waitress. But aside from Robert, what a cast in this Waitress! Like, past guest of the podcast, Julia McClellan playing Jenna. Yes. So exciting. Another 6.
Alicia Cruz.
Yes, playing Dawn.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thrilled with this cast.
Lee Siegel playing Cal.
So good. Like, everybody's so good. So we will be possibly making 2 trips out to London because now I'm actually so interested in the senior citizen Into the Woods.
Doesn't that sound so cute?
That's so wholesome. And, like, I want to, like, do, like, a piece on this. Like, I'm so interested in that. Amazing.
Okay, I want to highlight one other... I just want to highlight 2 things before we get to summer festival season.
Yeah.
Theater Aquarius is also doing Waitress in the spring.
Right.
April 30th to May 17th in Hamilton. So I was like, wow, really, Waitress is licensable and we're doing it. We're ready to go.
And then anyone who's in the Calgary, Edmonton, Alberta area, let us know what the Citadel is planning to do this season because as you'll hear in our next episode, we know that they did the beaches this year. So that's like kind of a fun out of town tryout for potential pre-Broadway. So wow, I'm like still thinking about the pyramid of people. So
I know.
Here we go.
I've got one more to talk about before we get to summer festival. And I actually I need to have more information on this, but I've been talking about this for so long. We have actual no proof about this. What's going on with Illinois?
Right.
What is going on with Illinois?
So, like, similar to when we talked about Message in a Bottle this year, which I think will be making its way into my list for our year in review episode.
Really liked Message in a Bottle.
That was the, like, first, like, dance show that was featured at, like, TO Live that kind of was, like, very similar to Illinois because it was here, Message in a Bottle was here in Toronto, and then it was continuing to do, like, stops in the States and, like, wasn't considered a dance show because it didn't have live band, right? Like, there was a stipulation there.
So, Message in a Bottle was, number one, a tour, and, Toronto was a stop on the tour. And
I think they were from the UK, right? Those people?
Yes, it's a UK dance company. I can't remember the name right now, but from the UK. And yes, the music is not live. It's recorded music. And it also didn't play in a Broadway house when it did go to New York. I can't remember where it played. I might have played at like City Center or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, Illinois, though, the music... So if it did end up on Broadway, Message in a Bottle, it would not be considered a musical, whereas Illinois had live music and therefore was considered a musical, even though, like, the music and, let's say, the performers were not detached, but they were not singing. Yes, so from what we understand, based on multiple articles, T.O. Live in Toronto, which is, like, you know, I don't know exactly what they are. Don't ask me.
I think it's just like a production company, because they don't just do like these.
No, I know, but
performances.
do they have city funding? Do they have government
I have
city
no
funding?
idea.
That's what I really want to know. I think they might. So anyway,
but they are most of the time in conjunction with Meridian Hall.
Yes, that's where most of their the stuff like lives, and as part of wanting Meridian Hall to not just be a theater that houses tours or visiting productions, they have invested in Illinois, which played, you know, various other places, including Broadway. And so from what I understand, it's supposed to be here spring 2025. I have no confirmation of this. I cannot find this on the Meridian Hall website.
No, we saw like a Reddit post like earlier this year, but like that was it. And then your comments
Kelly
on
Nestra
that were
confirmed
basically...
it.
Yeah, but like your comments on that was like, why would you bring it to Broadway and then tour after? Like, it doesn't really make sense. But
well, yeah, what my frustration, I guess, with it was like, if Toronto is funding part of this, why are we getting it so late? Like, why is the like prime cast going to New York, doing all these other things, and then Toronto's just gonna get... I'm sure the people who come and perform it, if it ever happens, will be extremely talented, but why aren't we, who have invested money into it, getting this same talent that Broadway got?
But have we invested money into it?
That's, as far as I know, that's what Kelly Nestra said.
Well,
so I'm going with him.
I guess we'll have to wait for the new year to see if there's
I
posting
cannot find information about this online besides articles. Like, I cannot find a place to buy tickets, a season announcement. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it'll be here. Spring 2025.
Right. Well, let's move on to the summer festivals. We've already chatted about these two shows in our Off to Stratford season. So if you want to hear our full thoughts on that, you can go over to that episode. But the musicals for next season at Stratford Festival are Annie and Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. I really have nothing more to say than I'm still uninspired as I was a few weeks ago. So here we are. And then for Shaw Festival, this was announced when we did record My Fair Lady, but it slipped our minds to say it. But they are getting Anything Goes, which I do think fits the Shaw Festival season.
No, I agree. I absolutely agree. I think it should be super fun, especially with the tap dancing. I think the set has an opportunity to be really fun. I think... So we've said before, we think their most successful production that we've seen was Gypsy. So I think they're kind of, you know, the place that they live in the best is classic musical with a bit of edge. And does Anything Goes have that? I'm not sure. I think Anything Goes, a show I have seen, I saw it on tour and when it hit Toronto. Mm-hmm. I think it is, let's say, better than something like Holiday Inn or Damn Yankees, but I don't think it's as good as Gypsy. So that's kind of where I am with that.
But I do think it does have name recognition, and people will be excited to see this. So
no, I know. They've announced many other shows for Stratford and for Shaw Festival, but as a musical-loving podcast, like, this is what we're here for.
Except for that, like, Hamlet Macbeth, that's, like, about a Quebec gang. Like, that is interesting to me.
And I'll also say at Shaw, the Christmas show next year, so winter 2025, is White Christmas. They don't have one this year. My Fair Lady just is extended to December.
Yeah. And then just to, like, again, like, round out what I said a bit earlier, there are a million other companies here. There's also so many regional theaters in the city and around the city and literally everywhere across the country. So there are so many shows playing at all times near us and around us. But these are just, like, the bigger, kind of buzzier mainstream shows.
I've got a list of a few shows that are not musicals, actually, that... like I came across or knew about as I was collecting this list that kind of excited me that I thought I would list out here. So one that we're really excited for at Canadian Stage, Fat Ham.
Yeah.
In the spring.
Can't wait. Musical adjacent. There's music in that.
There's music, yeah. And Peter Fernandez starring in that. So he's in One Man, Two Governors at Shaw right now. He's doing Fat Ham at Canadian Stage, so really excited about that. Also Canadian Stage, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, and they cast 2 real life couples in that. Kind of want to see that. at Crows what the Constitution means to me, but they've adapted it like to be Canadian specific.
Oh, I didn't know.
At Crows. Yeah. Isn't that fun?
That's fun.
So I think hoping maybe to get there this fall.
It's also
around the election time.
It's also Crow's 41st season. So there's like a bunch of deals like currently out for that.
Kim's Convenience at Crows again. So super fun. And also I was looking at Coal Mine. No musicals this season, and I think it'll be done by the time this episode comes out. But they're currently playing like an Annie Baker play, and I'm like, should I try and go? Because I really loved the flick at Crows a few years ago.
Yeah,
so should I try and see? I believe it's like not Infinite Jest, but I think it might be called Infinite Jest. Infinite Life, not Infinite Jest.
So
Infinite
close.
Life at Coal Mine. That's something that, again, will probably be over by the time this comes out. But I'm like, should I grab a ticket and head over to see that one as an Annie Baker fan? We'll see.
Yeah. But as you said, if there's any other shows that you are interested in that are playing near us, please tell us. We're always looking for like new theater companies to support, new shows to go to in the area. So, yeah.
Anything really fun community theater wise that we should check out, we're definitely open to that. We've done community theater stuff before.
We've dabbled. We've dipped
dabbled.
our toes in community theater.
Tell
and
us.
would be willing
Tweet
to go
us.
back.
Comment
Even if it's
on YouTube,
anything
Instagram.
like Message in a Bottle, like Illinois, any kind of like dance shows, like any sort of like live performances. We did go to, we never even said, but we did go to the Fringe Festival this year. We went to see Rosamund at the Fringe Festival. So
Yeah.
like that comes around every year. So there's lots happening. You just like have to search for it a little bit.
Should I briefly go through the National Ballet of Canada season?
Oh my God, very quick. Let's go.
I know, we're going to be brief. Okay, here we go. In Toronto, November, Silent Screen and Body of Work and Rhapsody. It's a mixed bill. Really fun. November, Giselle. This is a like story ballet, 3-act ballet. Really,
That's been here before, right?
Giselle has been here many times. It's a very classic ballet. This is kind of one that I haven't seen before, and I maybe would like to see this time. So maybe I'll get to see that. Always at Christmas, the Nutcracker. You know, it's here. It's classic. She never leaves. It's the moneymaker for the ballet. February, The Four Seasons and Morpheus's Dream and The Leaves Are Fading. Another mixed bill, really fun. March, Swan Lake, a return. Same production that we saw last time, so that's exciting. So fascinating. In May, Guillaume Cote bids adieu to the National Ballet of Canada by creating a new work and restaging his Bolero. So Guillaume Cote is retiring, and they're doing a whole thing all about him. In June, Anna Karenina, which I have seen before and I really enjoyed, so I actually would recommend. And that's the end of the season. So really fun stuff, really different ways of storytelling we love to see at the National Ballet.
We would go through the Canadian Opera Company, but we've never seen one. So maybe that's something to add to the list eventually, is an opera.
I know, if we can get a discount ticket, like, it's
I know
too
it's
expensive.
very expensive. It's very bougie. Everyone with their Prosecco. Like, I can't afford that lifestyle.
And a ball gown.
But yeah, in a roundabout way, that is the 2024-2025 Toronto and surrounding areas season preview. We will continue to like update this list as we see things, as more things get added. If Illinois actually makes its way to Toronto in the new year, we'll let you know. But
and please, we are truly always looking for new things to see. So we've definitely missed so much, and we want recommendations.
We know that there's so many companies, so like don't come at us. These are just the ones that stick out to us, and the ones that we've seen.
Please tell us. Please give recommendations.
Yeah.
What should we see? What should we cover? What else is out there? If you have a theater company, if you're in a show, tell us about it.
Let us know.
We are always looking for new things.
And with that, it's now time for our obsession of the week. Okay, Steph, what's your obsession?
Well, we got the opportunity to start off the Mirvish season by seeing its opening show, The Life of Pi. I had never read the book or seen the movie before, so I was really going in pretty blind, knowing that it was just about, a young boy on a boat alone with a tiger stranded at sea. And what really, I guess, I liked about this production was the stage effects and the puppetry and the way that they use the stage. At intermission, I turned to you and I compared it to 3 shows. 1, Message in a Bottle, which we've already talked about today. Wow, we're really Message in a Bottle fans.
It was better than it should have been.
No, I know. Love message in the bottle. 2, curious incident of the dog in the nighttime.
They're
Just
like
the way
doors.
Yes, the way that the doors were used and the way that you're kind of in this like one boy's mind and like how he survives and how he's navigating this circumstance. And finally, kind of the obvious, and I think it'll be interesting once we end up seeing this to do the comparison here. The Lion King with these gorgeous animal puppets and the way that the animals moved and the way that they kind of humanized them in certain ways and were able to kind of like dismantle and play around with the puppets to kind of embody different emotional beats or tell different types of story and different creative things that they were doing with the puppets. Really, really enjoyed. My favorite staging moments were actually at the beginning of the show where they're at this animal sanctuary before they get on the ship. And the way that they use these beautiful, like, these opening doors and the set behind them and animals, like, peeking out of these windows to kind of give you the ambiance of being in an animal sanctuary. I really, really thought that was really beautiful. So for me, Life of Pi, the highlight of it was the visuals, the way that they created this world for Pi to live in and for this tiger and all the other animals and his family to live in. And I actually think maybe seeing it from the mezz would have been even better because I've heard, the story being told on the stage adds another element to it as well. And my friend saw it from the mezzanine and she really, really loved it from there.
There's a lot
that
of
would be really interesting.
Water projections.
Yeah.
We'll say. Yeah.
And even just to maybe see the way that the animals move from above as opposed to like a straight on would be even more interesting. Life of Pi is playing here in Toronto until
October 6th.
October 6th. Thank you.
Oh my God.
But it's also...
That day never leaves us.
This day, I don't know why. This day feels so ominous to me. October 6th. I cannot deal with it. We were emailing someone about October 6th, and I was like, why does this day freak me out?
I know.
I was playing till October 6th, but also it is going on tour. So we currently have the UK cast here in Toronto, but it's going on tour in the US starting in December, and then it will be touring North America. So if you're not from Toronto and you haven't had an opportunity to see it here or on Broadway, it will be touring the United States starting this December. So you'll have a chance to see this beautiful tour. And I was very moved by the story, and I really think this beautiful, beautiful stagecraft that's really inspired. So excited for more people to see it.
We had no idea that the story takes place of them coming to Canada. Had no idea.
Yeah, the author, Jan Martel, is Canadian.
I knew that, but I didn't know that the story, took place here.
They're trying to come to Canada. And then he's dealing with the Canadian, embassy representative.
Yeah. I'll also say, welcome back the reverb projection, my favorite projection.
Yeah. It's
only featured at the Ed Mirvish Theatre. I've
only
never seen it
Mirvish.
anywhere else.
No, I think it was used to really great effect in the way they're jumping from different timelines and different, some stuff is a memory or a story or it's all through his perspective. And I think they wove that pretty well. Mm-hmm. Tara, what's your obsession this week?
My obsession this week is something that you posted on our story when we were in Boston, but we never actually talked about the fact that the cast recording for Bad Hat's Alice in Wonderland came out. Speaking of Tess Benger, who we didn't even talk about as the standby for...
I know.
T-Tony.
I know, it doesn't say who specifically she's standing by for, but it's saying, her, Kaylee Harwood, and someone else, standing in the wings. So I'm assuming maybe Rose and Celine.
Yeah.
Her and Kaylee Harwood.
Yeah, that would make sense to me. As you've heard us talk about previously on this podcast, we love this production of Alice in Wonderland and so thrilled to have an actual, cast recording that I can download and listen to all the time, so these songs just don't live in my memories. The entire cast recording is really well mastered, but the song I'm going to pick is Curious. I love this show. Is this coming back to Soul Pepper at Christmas time? That hasn't been announced. It's not coming?
No, it's not.
Oh, no. You know what they should do? They should re-release the recorded version that they have. Because we never saw it, and I would like to see it.
I hope this show comes back every few years, because when I think of it, I think of, my friends are starting to have children. I think of, taking them to see it someday, because I think it's just, a perfect introduction to theater for kids. And I hope for many years to come, Alice in Wonderland will be at home in Toronto or wherever.
it's the only, I think, show we've seen with Bad Hats production company. But if that's any indication of other work that they're putting out, I'd love to see more of what they do. So thrilled that this cast recording exists, and everybody should listen to it. If you've never seen the production, it's good music to listen to, and if you've seen the production, it will bring you back to that feeling that you felt watching the show. But yeah, that is our Toronto and surrounding area season preview. Our next episode is the 2024-2025 New York Broadway season preview, so stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, you can listen to any of our other episodes by subscribing to our podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also watch us on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a comment.
And you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram. I will never call it X. Sorry, I feel like that needs to be acknowledged.
Yeah,
it's just a bad name. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Off2BOA Podcast with the number 2, or on TikTok at Off2Broadway.
And we will see you guys next time.
Bye.